I am late. I had to get some coffee. So, how are you guys doing? All right, good. We are back. We're back from Alaska. Oh my gosh, it was an awesome trip. We went to Alaska with Bill and Gloria Gaither. I'll tell you about it in just a second. So click that notification button if you're on Facebook. We're glad to have you here. And also turn the notifications on your phone. That way, when we go live here, you'll be notified. We are here at Wisdom Harbor Studios in the financial district of Orange Beach, Alabama, here at the wharf, home of the famous escalator statues. We have 2 Marlin statues, 4 escalator statues. They're life-size. They look real. You can have your picture taken with them. And if you come visit, just make sure you do. This shirt is a Sand Dollar lifestyle shirt. This Sand Dollar is the cornerstone of the wharf here. And Sand Dollar has millions of different shirts, including this one from some particular college. Not really sure which. But we got a good show. I need to calm down. You know, I was running around back there, and right before the music started, I asked Matt, I said, can I send you some eagle pictures? And we'll show him a couple of eagle pictures I took. And Matt, always accommodating. No, I wasn't calling you. I was not. If I call you, I'll turn to you like this. I'll go, Matt. But this.
I love it. I love the request. We're 30 seconds before show. Hey, can I send you some pictures?
I know.
Okay.
But you're so, you know. You have superpowers, and I just you know, I've come to rely on them. Like I heard somebody say, somebody said, ask him, do you believe in miracles? And this person said, I rely on them. And so I kind of rely on your miracles too, Matthew. We have people in the studio audience today. We have a bunch of you guys, and so we're excited. Who do we have? Do we have names?
We do. Let me get those up. I just finished the eagle photos.
Okay. Well, I just putting too much on Matt at the moment, so we'll talk here for a second while Matt gets your notes. But Alaska, how many of you guys have you been to Alaska? Have you? Okay. It is. It's really neat. It's different. You know, I mean, if you didn't know you were in the United States, you would think this might be, especially like Sitka. You know, Sitka has that Russian influence. But I'm all about the animals and stuff. I just love seeing I spent $160 on a taxi in Ketchikan because there's only like in Sitka, there's only 3 taxis and no Ubers. And I wasn't sure how many were in Ketchikan, but when I missed the taxis in Sitka, I was determined I was getting one in Ketchikan. So I ran off the ship and I got the first one and I said, let's find some eagles. And so we did. We found a few. In Juneau, it was raining. So even though we found eagles, is that my phone?
Potential spam.
It's potential spam. Yeah, let me answer it. Let's see who it is. Hello?
Hi, my name is Alex from Vehicle Service Department. I am calling about your 2007 Dart. And our files here indicates that you have 16,000 miles on it. Is that still your mileage?
I have 15,000 miles on my Dodge Dart.
Sorry?
Are you asking, do I have 15,000 miles on my Dodge Dart? Yes, I do.
Okay. And lastly, your zip code is 36561, right?
Yes, that's my area code, 36561. You sound like you're having a party there. You sound like there's a lot of people there.
Okay, I don't apologize for the background, sir.
Oh, that's all right. Just have them start singing. Wait, what?
I am going to transfer you now to our licensed representative to go over all the information. Okay?
Oh, you're going to give me somebody else to get my information. Or they're going to hang up on me. Yeah, okay. You know, we have a lot of fun here in the studio, and sometimes that's what we'll do. You know, we get so many of these calls. Sometime I'll be beside Matt, and I'll say, "Okay, turn your phone on," and we'll start talking to him and just see if we get anything from him. I actually won. How much was it? How much money?
I don't.
Like $500,000.
Something like that.
$500,000 and a new car.
Yep.
And all I had to do was go pick it up at Walgreens with a $500 Visa card and send that $500 Visa card, and I would get $500,000 and a new car. So we stretched that one out a long time.
Mm-hmm.
How many views has that got on Facebook now?
I think over 10 million.
Over 10 million views on Facebook. Just people interested that I won $500,000, evidently. Okay, in the studio we have Tracy Gatewood from Tuscaloosa. Where's Tracy? Tracy Gatewood from Tuscaloosa is not here.
Must have stepped out for I smelled some bacon when I went outside, and it was very alluring.
Diana Bilmer from Atlanta. Oh, there you are. Hey, glad to have you. Are these your daughters? 2 daughters and an addition. That's right? Is that right? Okay. Stacy and Travis from Bedford, Texas. Hey, Stacy. Hey, Travis. Jim Pack from Bedford, Texas. Jim, how are you doing? Well, you were right in a glare there. I was just make sure. You know who looks like you? Larry Tate. Larry Tate from the Bewitched show. He looks like him. Anyway, Judith and Alan from Fairhope. Where are y'all? Hey, how are y'all doing? Leslie Ann Tarabella was on the cruise with us. Excuse me, she's from Fairhope. Ashley and Danny from Austin. Hey, Austin, Texas. That's the People's Republic of Austin. That's what they say. Yeah. Okay. So would you like to see the Eagles that I paid a taxi cab guy $160 to find? Because once I got him, I wasn't going to let him go, and so, because he kind of looked like he would probably pull over in the bushes and smoke something and leave me there. Yeah, but so I just kind of kept him with me. Let's see what eagle shots did I manage to get you 30 seconds for. There's one. Boy, he looks mean, doesn't he? He looks mean. I only had to shoot probably 100 shots to get that one in focus. All right, let's go to another one. There's the wet eagle. That's the Juneau eagle. It was raining like crazy. There's only 3 ways you can get into Juneau. Juneau is the capital of Alaska, and there's no roads in there. The only way you can get in by airplane, by ship, and by birth canal. The only ways you can get in. Got another eagle? There we go. There you go. I really like eagles. I really like eagles. Did I do another one, Matt? Or is that it? Anyway,
Oh,
Debbie,
I think I just got three. I'll double check that.
yeah, no, that's okay. Debbie Packard said it's an amazing picture. And, you know, I have this big camera, and I don't really know what I'm doing with it. I'm not a photographer. I just have good equipment, and I like doing it. I mean, I took all these back here and all those over there, and so I enjoy doing it, but I don't really know what I'm doing. I had what I thought was a good camera, and then Dr. Mark Foley, which if you follow him on Instagram and see some of his stuff, Dr. Mark Foley, he started coming in here, and it really just like, it made me depressed. I mean, he would say, yeah, these are good. Look, here's one I took last week. And I'm like, really? And every week he'd come in just to say hi, just to visit. And he would show me some of what he had done. And it was like, you know, Ansel Adams compared to what your sister took on an Instamatic in 1974. And I mean, I was just like, I'm going to quit. I'm just going to quit taking pictures. I'm not going to take any pictures anymore. And he laughed one day and he said, well, you've got a good eye. You just don't have the right equipment. I was like, really? And so I got some better equipment. But everybody laughs at my camera because it was white, has a big lens, and it's just snow white. Well, I'm not taking wedding pictures. I take outdoor pictures. I take pictures of deer and turkeys and stuff like that. And so I took flat spray paint and I sprayed it in a cup, and then took a Q-tip and Q-tipped that lens all over. So it's all camouflage. I did it in like 3 different colors. Took me a couple of hours. But what's funny is that when I run into these wildlife photographers, I'm shocked that none of them have done that. They use big cloth things and that get in their way, and they look at mine and go, oh my gosh, I never thought of that. And I'm like, really? You never thought of that? Okay. So, but nobody can see my camera. It disappears. You know, the Life Skills Project has added a new class plus 2 new books. Added two new classes. The Butterfly Effect is going this time, and that's with David Wright. And How Do You Kill 11 Million People with Tammy Nance. And so andyandrews.com/skills to register for the life skills classes. Those are 8-week courses with, I say courses, they're discussion groups. And they have a leader, a facilitator, a coach. And and so I think the first one coming up is in 3 weeks. Tammy Nance, she's our director of communications for Wisdom Harbor, and hers is in 3 weeks. And then some of the classes
Or the new class, the 11 million, is 3 weeks long.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not in 3 weeks. It's 3 weeks.
Pretty
long.
close. It's I know it starts, I think, first week of September or maybe August 30th.
Okay.
That's what it was. So somewhere around there.
But there's a 3-week class, a couple of 6-week classes, and some 8-week classes. And they're all done on Zoom. And the things that just finished up were just awesome. People just are going nuts over them. So I hope you get to plug into one of those things. Today we're going to talk about something that I started thinking about on the cruise. The music on the cruise was incredible. It was incredible. We had the Gatlin brothers, Jimmy Fortune, the Martins, Gaither Vocal Band, Jason Crabb, Linda Randall, Angie, the Easters. I'm going to forget. There's like 27 acts.
Yeah, there was a lot
on there. Ken Davis was there. It was unbelievable. I mean, it was just like packed. It was great. But as we would go into these towns, Alaska's not really like the continental United States. And I've traveled a little bit. I've been to Europe and Australia and South America. And I got to thinking about, Polly says that I just am obviously an American, that I'm just obvious. And I don't care. I don't care. I'm fine. I'm fine. And so I got to thinking, what are some things that tag us as Americans? And I put the word out to some people, and I said, give me some stuff. What do you think tags us? And I even reached out to some people that are in other countries to give us some things that you see somebody, you go, yeah, you're an American, okay? And so, that instant recognition, and I'm looking for those maybe not so little, not so subtle things that Americans do that make them stick out in other countries. One person wrote and said, Americans are extremely extroverted and talkative. I've lived in Germany for 14 years, and I've never seen strangers talk. But when I went to America, everyone was so nice and talkative. It was nice, but a strange experience. Are we that talkative?
Guess so.
Wisconsin must be a foreign country, because when Kevin Perkins and I were in Wisconsin a couple of years ago, we were in Walmart, and I didn't realize we were just acting like we always acted. And about the third aisle, Kevin said to me, he said, have you noticed that all these people we're saying hello to are not saying hello back? And I said, no. But I mean, we just pass people in the store and say, hey, how you doing? Hey, what? Nice hat on that kid. We just talk. And these people are like, so Wisconsin must be a foreign country. Number two, somebody said it's very American to cut with the right hand and then swap the fork to the right hand to eat that piece, then swap again to cut with the right. I don't know that that's American as much as it is correct. I mean, that's just correct. I mean, otherwise, you're just going to be like King Henry VIII, Oh, wow. Right? I mean, politeness. But no, I mean, what are you holding your knife in one hand, your fork in the other? That's King Henry. So I think that's not just American. We're gonna judge these things, okay?
Okay.
We're just whether they're bogus or not. And I know in the Bible it says not to judge, but that's people. That's people. And let me point out that the Bible says not to judge people, but it doesn't say anything about prejudging. So I think we can prejudge. Leslie Ann Tarabella, oh man, she's saying let's have this fork knife conversation in person sometime. Leslie Ann she's the manners person. Now, I mean, I have manners, but it's like my wife and Leslie Ann, they're like manners people and they're grammar Nazis. You just don't get away with anything around. Number three, sometimes they introduce, I didn't understand this, but I figured maybe you could tell me. Sometimes they introduce themselves as their ancestors' nationalities. What does that mean?
I guess that's probably like saying, like, you go somewhere and you're like, oh, I'm a German American or an Italian American or African American, or maybe something like that. Whereas, like, maybe someone that lives in Italy that came from, I don't know, Romania or something, they don't say I'm a Romanian Italian.
Well, we didn't used to say it, You think that's it?
That's my guess.
I'm an Alabama American.
Where at least I know I'm free.
Where at least I know I'm free. Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. Let's go to number 4. This is me. And this is on the cruise ship too. Asking for refills, ice, or iced tea will out you as an American every time. Yeah, and I mean, it does drive me crazy being in a foreign country, no ice. I mean, you have to ask for it. It's like ice is gold to these people. They're not going to give it up, you know. And on a cruise ship, they'll give you a glass of iced tea with one little cube of ice in it that like makes the top part of that lukewarm while the rest of it is warm. And so I have to ask for and a lot of ice and a separate glass filled with ice. And I know people are walking away from our table going, you American swine. Number 5. This is, I never really thought about this, but the word vacation is a big clue. Because when we travel and we say we're on vacation, Europe, Australia, they're on holiday. And so when we say we're on vacation, you're an American. And depending on how you pronounce it, vacation, you know, you might be from Mississippi. Okay, number 6. Most Americans I meet are some of the friendliest, most polite people. That being said, they are unmistakably loud and overshare personal details of their lives. And asking for ketchup is a dead giveaway. Yeah. Okay. I buy that. And I'm guilty of the ketchup thing. You know, I'm just not putting vinegar on my French fries. I'm just sorry. I mean, vinegar on your French fries? Whew. I had a cousin that used to eat ketchup on his apple pie. And that's as weird as vinegar on, but I can see vinegar on French fries if your entire country is doing it. If everybody grew up doing that, oh, here's what you do. But where did my cousin Roy get ketchup on apple pie?
Yeah, that's bizarre.
Yeah, I don't get it. Number 7, we get a lot of American tourists in Ireland. Why do you all wear the exact same clothes? And she says, Ireland t-shirt, shorts, socks with sandals, or those awful big cloppy tennis shoes, sunglasses, and baseball caps. Really? That's how we dress when we go to Ireland? I didn't know I dressed in Ireland. Jen Andrews says, my dad eats tomato and peanut butter sandwiches. Oh my God, that'll never catch on. You'll never see a commercial. Hey, I got tomato. No, hey, you got tomato on my peanut butter. You got peanut butter on my tomato. It's two tastes in one. You won't see that. Chocolate, peanut butter, graham crackers, peanut butter, no wafers, but tomatoes and peanut butter? Come on. And Mike says cheese on apple pie is good. Mike Schreiger says, and I've seen people do that, cheese on apple pie. I don't like cheese on apple pie, but number 8, honestly, all the Americans I saw in my town were particularly cheerful and enthusiastic about things we take for granted, like walking on a 1,000-year-old street. I also find them very expressive about their feelings. They don't hesitate to say, oh, this guy's so funny, or whatever in public. In Europe, I have the impression that we have lost the habit of communicating with one another in public. I would say so. And as far as that 1,000-year-old road, you know, They do take that for granted. They do. I walked outside one morning from a hotel in England and walked down the street, and I was looking at this building, and it looked pretty old. And a lady came by, and I said, "Excuse me, like, how old is that building?" And she said, "Oh, 1800s." And I'm thinking, we got stuff from the 1800s. But then I realized she meant 1800 years old. Like, oh, okay. Well, I mean, because, when you are seeing roads that are 1,000 years old, and you realize there's virtually nothing in our country that's older than 250 or 300 years old. It's bizarre. Number 9, a dead giveaway is asking where they're from. They don't say America, which would make many people wonder which part, or maybe even South America. No, they say stuff like, "I'm from Texas." No other people in the world would tell you what state they're from. They usually start with a continental level, like, "I'm from Europe," and then maybe go further, like, "My country is Germany." Then perhaps if you're still talking, they'll tell you which part of Germany. American folks just go straight to the state. I think if you're from Texas, I think part of it is if you're in Germany and you come over here and you mention a state, we ain't heard of it. Okay, but you tell me they ain't heard of Texas? I mean, we were somewhere near India, and at a restaurant, and he said, "Where in America are you from? Where are you from?" And I said, "We're from a state called Alabama." He said, "Roll on tide, roll on tide." I said, yeah, that's us. Okay. Number 10, saying, "Hey, how are you?" or "How's it going?" without expecting an actual answer. When you answer and ask how they are, it usually baffles them. Well, it doesn't baffle me. I mean, I say, "How you doing?" I'm like, "Fine. How are you?" "Good." How hard is that? It is funny, isn't it? You hear some of these and you think, well, what have you met? 2 Americans? You've met 2. Sweatshirts with logos on them. Now that's bogus.
That sounds bogus.
Because where are you going to go in the world that doesn't have sweatshirts with logos on them? I mean, you don't go into France and go, "Wow, look at all the plain sweatshirts." I mean, they're everywhere. Okay, number 12. They start talking to you. Americans start talking to you, are always trying to make conversation. I was at the car wash one time, and this guy sat beside me and asked if the truck was mine. I politely said no and hoped he would stop talking to me, as English is not my first language. Lo and behold, a few minutes later, he was telling me the story of 9/11 and how he developed an illness from it because he was one of the first responders. Americans are really interesting people. They really know how to keep a conversation going. I couldn't do that. Europeans wouldn't do that, I don't think. I think we are pretty friendly, except in Wisconsin, where they won't talk to you in a Walmart. Number 13, they drive from one shop to the next, even if it's only a 50-meter walk. And you know why I do it?
Why?
Because I don't know how long a meter is. I said, how far is it to the Burger King? Oh, it's 50 meters. Whew. I just filled up with gas. I'm glad. I mean, how do you know? They've been trying to make us go metric for years here. You think that's ever going to happen? I don't either. Even though I do support the metric system every inch of the way. Number 14. They make a huge fuss over your accent. I was in London and some American tourists asked for directions. I told them and they were like, "You sound so British." One guy even called his friend over to marvel at my accent. "Dude, you're in England. What do you expect?" I could see that. Can you see that? Yeah, I can see that. Here, talk to me. Talk a little more. Yeah, I'd love to hear you talk. Talk. When we were in Australia and then went to New Zealand, you would think that you wouldn't be able to tell the difference in how they talk. But you can, and it's easy. And you know how? Because in Australia, they talk like this. It's just straightforward, has an accent. But in New Zealand, it's like every sentence ends like with a question mark. We're going down to the seashore, and we're going to do some fishing, and we hope we catch some fish, but we'll be home later. Everything ends with a question mark, a little dot at the end of a sentence. I don't know how they do that, but they do. We were in New Zealand and went to the Shotover River, which is like this rapids river, and they had this jet boat ride. And this was not something they would do in America because the lawyers would shut them down. I wish I could show you guys a video of this. They're going 70 miles an hour with a boatload of people right beside a cliff, and turning around in this. It's crazy. And they said, "Well, we've never had an injury." I'm like, "Oh, come on. If you'll do this, you'll lie about it." I mean, there's no way. I mean, they probably turn a boat over every week. Number 15. I know they're American if they're a 35-year-old man wearing a large t-shirt, khaki cargo shorts, and white sneakers with socks that go halfway up their calves. No, friend. Those are not Americans. Those are snowbirds from Michigan. Yeah, that's what we have down here. The snowbirds from Michigan. And of course, my friend Brent Burns, the songwriter who penned "If It's Snowbird Season, Why Can't We Shoot 'Em?" Everybody complains about snowbirds. We get the poor snowbirds. We get the snowbirds. They can't make it all the way to Tampa or Sarasota. They run out of money when they get here, and everybody complains about them. But I have some good snowbird friends, and they're smart. I mean, they are smart. I mean, you got to be smart to figure a 3% tip in your head like that. Number 16. They ask what you do for a living in the first 5 minutes of a conversation. Well, yeah, I'd say, "What do you do?" I mean, it's just the quickest way to find out about somebody, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know that you always expect an honest answer. So, I mean, sometimes if I don't want to talk, and a taxi driver asks me, what I do for a living, I say, "I'm a teacher," which is true, but it doesn't get the questions that you get if you say, "I'm a writer." "Really, what do you write?" "Oh, just stuff." "What kind of stuff?" Just some books. "Fiction or nonfiction?" But I'm a teacher.
They'd say, "Oh, what, you teach at Positive State. Where is that?"
I do. Yeah, I teach at Positive State. So, but the teacher doesn't get much. Okay, number 17. Can I get some ranch for my fries? You're an American. You're an American. Yeah. Number 18, asking about common American chains that are uncommon or non-existent in other countries, chain restaurants and chain stores. Also assuming that international chains serve the same thing in every country. McDonald's, for example, has different menu items in, say, China. They also assume the food is prepared the exact same way, too. I remember ordering chicken nuggets as a kid in Germany and being shocked they tasted so differently. Probably because they were made with real chicken. No, you don't think they were? I was doing something with the military. I was in Turkey. I went into a McDonald's and they had McKebabs. I'm not kidding, McKebabs. So.
Do they have IHOP in Europe?
I don't know. And when did International House of Pancakes start calling themselves IHOP? I mean, it's almost kind of like, there's like a lot of ego in that. I think because it's like, you're going to know who I am. I'm Cher. Cher what? Just Cher. Who else is like that? Charo. You ever wonder what Charo's last name was? What was Cher's last name? Cher Smith. And it just doesn't sound as big a deal, I guess. Man, here's another spam call. You want to try them? Hello? Hello?
Hello, this is CJ. I'm calling from the Vehicle Service Department.
Vehicles.
Can you please verify the year, make, and model of your vehicle so I can pull up your file?
Okay, my is a 1962 Ford Galaxy.
Okay, thank you for taking the call, sir.
Thank you. That was it. Okay, we don't have anything. 1962 in our files. Number 19, wearing a baseball cap at an indoor restaurant. Now, I hate that marks us as Americans because, as my wife and Leslie Ann Tarabella would say, you shouldn't be wearing a baseball hat in any restaurant. So, there you go. But we ugly Americans, we eat in restaurants with our own baseball hats on. I mean, I don't. God knows my wife would have me executed. And the boys, our boys, if you ever see one of our boys wearing their hat in a restaurant, just, can I turn this off? Okay. I guess I have now. Even though that was Bradley Walker. Just so you know. If you don't know who Bradley Walker is, go on YouTube and look at Bradley Walker. The guy can sing like crazy. And he's in a wheelchair, and he has one of the best voices you've ever heard in your life. Number 20, eating while walking, like eating a bagel or a breakfast sandwich on the way to work or to school. I don't know. Is that you don't think people in Europe eat while they walk? I don't know. That sounds bogus to me.
Yeah, that sounds a little.
And I don't know. I mean, unless you live in New York. I don't know who's walking to work. But I'll eat while I'm driving. And I'll text while I'm walking, even though it's illegal in a couple of cities in New Jersey. 21, wearing their shoes inside even if it has been raining. That had to come from somebody in Japan. Who didn't wear their shoes inside? You take your shoes off when you go in the door? No. We wear our shoes. We wear our shoes. We're civilized. Probably get some mail on that. Number 22, here's the last one. Finally, wearing their entire political personality on their clothing. Yeah, unfortunately, there's a lot of us that do that. There's a lot of us that do that. So, I think we should probably do a show sometime with how somebody would know you're from the South. And then we could do how we know somebody's from the North. I mean, I can tell you some of them right now because we have a lot of snowbirds that come down. And if you come down and immediately start telling us how much better it is back home, we're like, okay, you know, if you like it so much better back home, you should probably head on back. But it is amazing how many people will move down here and then will immediately try to make it like it was back home. When I was ruder, I used to be ruder. When I was younger, I was ruder. And I wonder if I should admit to this. This is not really rude. It's just kind of, I did it really just to entertain my friends. But when snowbirds would like see me in the grocery store or something, and they would say, "Are you Andy Andrews?" I say, "Yes, I am." And they say, "Oh, we're here from, Wisconsin." I'd say, "Oh, great, we're glad to have you. Stay in the right lane. We're glad to have you here." And I'd just like throw that in there. So stay in the right lane. But for people all over the country, it is amazing when the snowbirds come in. In the Orange Beach Public Library, they put a sign up that says, "Please do not take the toilet paper." I'm not kidding. And if you come in our town like November, December, January, February, you won't see any sugar stuff on the table. Or a lot of restaurants don't put salt and pepper shakers on the table either. You have to ask for them. It's kind of like you have to check them out, like you're at the library. You have to sign for them. I'll sign for this sugar service. I have a friend that owned a barbecue restaurant that watched a snowbird lady put, those squeezed ketchup bottles that get all nasty. No, and it was filled with barbecue sauce and sitting on the table, and she put it in her purse. When Publix opened up here, I told Benny, I said, "Have you been through a snowbird season yet?" He said, No. I said, "Well, just wait. Just wait. Wait till March comes." He said, "What happens in March?" I said, They return the food they didn't use." He said, "No." I said, "Oh yeah. Yeah, lot of canned goods getting returned because they didn't use them." So now, and you know what? I'm talking about snowbirds, and I know this is not all of them. It's not all of them. I mean, it's just like, I think a few always ruin it for the masses. It's because it's not all of them. It's a lot of them, but it ain't all of them. Hey, we are glad that you're with us today. Oh, what is this? John Miller, my mother taught Andy's younger sister in our church many years ago. Until Andy, Lexi May said hi. Mother is now 95. Wow. Wow. And she taught my sister. My sister put something in your mom. And my sister was like lifting weights for your mom. It's part of why your mom has lived so long. Sherry Aaron, restaurants had to go check boxes because some snowbirds put salt, pepper, sugar, and ketchup, in the to-go boxes. Yep. Lot of it getting lifted out of there. Poor Miss Burdishaw, I'll just tell you this. You mentioned somebody that taught my sister in Sunday school. Mrs. Burdishaw was our keeper, I think, at church. We were like 5 or 6 years old. And I don't remember this, but evidently I bit her leg. And it was like this big deal, that I'd bitten her leg. And but Roger Luker and I were there, and Roger's mom, who I called Aunt Martha, is not really my aunt, but she's close enough to be my aunt. It's like there was a 30-year reunion of something at the church. And so that was that was kind of the joke. I wonder if Andy's going to see Miss Burdishaw. And I'm thinking, surely, she's not there anymore. But when we got there, Aunt Martha came over, and she was kind of half laughing, half crying, and she says, "Don't say anything about Miss Burdishaw." And I said, "Really? Why?" She said, "She died last spring. Cancer started in her leg." Wow. Yeah. So just keep your arm away from my mouth. Yeah. All right. Well, we enjoyed having you guys here today. Thank you for being with us. Dina, thank you for being with us. And we will be back on Thursday. Thursday, we've got, that's the day we're only on wisdomharbor.com. If you haven't joined, you need to join wisdomharbor.com. Holy cow, this thing is going crazy, and it's awesome. I mean, we're just having a blast with it, and so if you want a dose of the very best, and this is a connector for families and connector for grandparents and grandchildren and teachers and students and teachers and parents and business people. WisdomHarbor.com is a connector, and it's cheap. You can get a year's subscription for your entire family for less than half a tank of gas. So we will see you Thursday, and I think that's all. Bye-bye.